So here is where it connects with the story of Tycho De Brahe, a Danish astronomer born in the Habsburg Empire, 14 December 1546 to 24th October 1601. Died at a fairly young age of 55 years, but that was not surprising at that point of time because of the kind of health services that were available at that time. It was not surprising that people died by the time they were 50, 60. But anyways, the interesting thing about the conjunction of Tycho De Brahe's time and Kepler's time was that, since I have been saying right from the beginning that these two people's works would have been incomplete without each other. So they came together and it sounded as if they worked for a very long time together. But actually, Tycho De Brahe and Kepler worked together only for 18 months. Okay, they met in 1600 and they worked together only for 18 months, and the death of Tycho De Brahe was a very important event in astronomy. Okay, and I will try to explain how, but to go back to the beginning, going back to his birth, there is an interesting story about Tycho De Brahe's birth. So Tycho's story is kind of like the antithesis of Kepler's story. Kepler was born to an extremely poor family who did not even have enough food for everybody to eat. Whereas Tycho De Brahe, as you might have guessed, was born into an aristocratic family. His father and his entire family, in fact, they were aristocrats and very, very wealthy. When Tycho's mother was pregnant, it was discovered that there were twins to be born. Okay, and it so happened that Tycho's father had a younger brother who worked in the navy, in the admiralty as it was called then. He did not have any children. He was married, but he didn't have any children. So Tycho's father sort of promised Tycho's uncle that he will give one of the children who is born for his younger brother to bring up. I think his uncle's name was Rudolph, if I'm not mistaken, or Uncle Jorgen. What's with uncles, huh? There are uncles in so many different stories. Jorgen, I don't know how that's pronounced. It's Dutch, so it must be pretty funny. Jorgen, I suppose. Okay, and so Uncle Jorgen was promised one of the children, but it so happened that when Tycho was born, his twin unfortunately died during childbirth. So there was only one child, and Tycho's father and mother loved the baby so much that they forgot about their promise to Uncle Jorgen. Okay, and Uncle Jorgen was a very temperamental man, being part of.
What was the promise, sir? I got disconnected.
That he will, that one of the children who is born, because they were expecting twins, one of the children that will be born will be given to Uncle Jorgen, because Uncle Jorgen did not have children of his own.
Okay.
So over time, Tycho's parents forgot about their promise to Uncle Jorgen, and Uncle Jorgen, being a very temperamental person, apparently kidnapped Tycho when he was very young.
So it's like Rapunzel all over again.
Sorry?
Like Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, huh? Okay, yeah. So, I don't know why again Rapunzel is turning up. Fine. So, Uncle Jorgen kidnapped Tycho, and there was a great chaos at that point of time in the households. They were looking for the little Tycho. They were afraid that he might have been stolen by some people who were opposed to their government, to the king, and so on and so forth. But of course, the whole matter was settled. Very soon, they found out that it was Uncle Jorgen who had kidnapped Tycho with best intentions. Like, he did not harm him or anything, but he just basically said, "You promised me, so I am keeping this child." And Tycho's parents, either in good humor or out of no choice of their own, allowed Uncle Jorgen to bring up Tycho. And it seemed that it was a good thing for retrospectively, we feel that it might have been a good thing for Tycho to be brought up by Uncle Jorgen, because Uncle Jorgen, now having had, I mean, so difficult, with great difficulty obtained a child, spent everything in his power for Tycho to grow up well, including sending him, getting him the best tutors. At that time, I don't think they had any system of public schools. It was only later on at like a university level where you would start going to a special place for education. Most of the academic work would happen at home, especially for very wealthy people. So Uncle Jorgen uh, did all he could to teach whatever was possible to Tycho De Brahe, and Tycho grew up in the in such an atmosphere of learning that by the time he was a teenager, he had learned quite a lot and had developed a great interest for academics. Okay, so it so happened that Tycho De Brahe developed an interest for a variety of things. Okay, so how did astronomy come to the top? So that's an interesting thing. Whenever Tycho seemed to have gone into one area or the other, like since his family were very wealthy, one of the things that the children in the family would learn is politics. Okay, so they would teach themselves all the things that are required in order to manage their political position, right? So little later, when Tycho went to university or completed his university education, he went to live with another uncle who was a very accomplished alchemist. So then he developed an interest in alchemy. But whenever such events happen, there were some spectacular astronomical events that seem to have took place that brought Tycho's interest back into astronomy. Okay, so one of the first incidents that occurred was a solar eclipse that he witnessed when he was 14 years old. Okay, now what was the significance of this solar eclipse was that by the time astronomy had developed well enough for there to be astronomical charts that were available which predicted solar eclipses among other things. Okay, and it seems that Tycho was in his house and the solar eclipse was predicted, and it just like we have an event in school when there is a solar eclipse and we kind of bring out our solar glasses and we look at the eclipse. Similarly, some such events seem to have been done, and naturally, discussion would have occurred about how the solar eclipse happens and how we predicted the occurrence of a solar eclipse. And Tycho De Brahe was astounded by the fact that the solar eclipse had been predicted years in advance of something like that happening. So when he understood the astronomy of how the eclipse occurred, he seemed to have taken on astronomy. Okay, so that was a positive experience of astronomy that he had. A little later, I think when he was 17 or 19, I'm not sure which, it was one odd year, again a teen year after his 14 years, after his first experience of astronomy in 14 years, another event happened in which case there was a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. I think I'm getting it right. Uh, what do you mean by a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn? Simple event, nothing complicated.
When they appear together.
Exactly, when the two passed each other's path. Okay, and in this case, because of the fact that the orbits of Jupiter and Saturn are far more complicated than the path of the sun or the path of the earth and the moon system around the sun. Um, the the charts that were used to make this prediction went wrong, and they went wrong spectacularly. So they had predicted that the conjunction would happen on a certain day, and it happened something like 2.5 days after the event was announced. Okay, and in this case, Tycho had a negative impression of astronomy. So when he inquired into why is it that this event got so messed up, he found out that the charts were very unpredictable, and that the charts were ancient. Okay, there had been no updates done to the chart since the days of Heraclides and Ptolemy. So the charts that were being used by modern astronomers, I'm saying modern astronomers means I'm talking about 16th century astronomers, that they were using 1500-year-old charts in order to make their astronomical predictions. And Tycho apparently got really annoyed with this thing. It's like, how come we haven't done any work in putting the charts in order, correcting all the errors that are there? Because all these astronomical events are happening in front of us, the stars are there, the planets are there. How come nobody corrects these events? Okay, so that is the second major event that took place. Meanwhile,
So why have you written 2.5 days there?
sorry?
Why have you written 2.5 days there?
The conjunction happened the 2.5 days after the conclusion.
Yeah.
The day it had to happen.
Oh,
After the date predicted.
The conjunction went horribly wrong. I have just written 2.5 days. I do not know exactly.
not precise.
I'm sorry. I think the conjunction went wrong by weeks, not days. I think I made a mistake there, but it was like way off. Okay, so you can look that up and correct it yourself. It's not
Sir,
how far it was, but the fact that it went off. Yes.
sir, he lost his nose when he was 20.
That's interesting. So that I will come to that event also. Okay, just as a curious thing. So Tycho De Brahe had gone on to doing further studies. So he went to some very famous universities because money was no object. So he joined. I think first he joined the University of Leipzig in Germany, which still exists. Leipzig University is still there in Germany.
Leipzig.
Leipzig, yeah. And apart from that, he went to another 2 or 3 universities, and he seemed to have had a fairly fun, accomplished, educative experience as far as universities are concerned. And it is in university that this curious incident happened, in which there were two Danish mathematicians. One of them, Tycho De Brahe. I don't know the identity of the other person. We do not know whether this story is entirely true or not, but it so happened that these two mathematicians came to an argument about who is the better mathematician. So Tycho felt that he's the better.
His third cousin known as Manderup Parsberg.
Okay, so I think there is some mystery around this. We are not exactly sure about it, but their argument became so heated that they decided that the only way to settle it, man to man, is through a duel in sword play. So they took out their swords and went out into the streets. And during the course of the fight, apparently Tycho Brahe's nose got sliced off. The tip of his nose got sliced off. And it seems that Tycho, after that, designed and took on a prosthetic nose. So you can Google for Tycho Brahe and you will find some images in which the prosthetic nose has been highlighted and shown. So there is a story about it. I'm just mentioning it in passing. It's got nothing to do with his journey as an astronomer.
Sir,
Yeah.
I'm just sharing this. It's still a mystery where his nose is. After he was buried, they found no sign of the nose.
Yeah. Okay. So
like, what was this war for?
Sorry?
What was this war kind of thing for?
It was not a war, it was just a duel.
Who's the better mathematician?
Yeah.
Just that.
Who is the better mathematician?
What's a fighting? Prove it.
Yeah, they're fighting.
Exactly. How will fighting prove it? They should do a stump duel. Who does it faster and correct?
Okay.
+1 is 2.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Okay. And after his university life, I'll explain the picture to you. After his university life, Tycho De Brahe went to live with another uncle who was also an aristocrat, a very wealthy person. And the invitation was that he can work with him and learn about different ways in which aristocrats help themselves. Basically, you have to be a courtier. If you get close to the king, then the king will sort of favor you and so on. But the uncle was also somebody who dabbled in alchemy. You all know what is alchemy, right?
Chemistry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
parent of chemistry, so to say, like ancient chemistry. So, but it so happened that Tycho De Brahe also got very interested in alchemy, probably because of his closeness with his uncle, and he started getting quite good in the alchemical sciences. I don't know what it was that they were trying to do, but he got sufficiently interested and he started working very closely in that. I think this was around the age of 20, 21. He had decided that he had had enough of education and then he sort of wanted to go and work. And at that time, just as he would have kind of tipped into alchemy, being an aristocrat and living the rest of his life, and therefore disappeared from history, an extremely important event occurred that actually finally kind of pushed him in the direction of astronomy, which was the appearance of a supernova. Okay, and it's like such an amazing thing that a supernova would have to occur to make Tycho stick to astronomy and therefore push Kepler into his orbit. Okay, so it's like a weird set of events. So the event itself took place on 11th November 1572. Okay, where a supernova, you know what's a supernova?
Yes, sir. When a star's fuels ends up and it
Star
blasts.
dies.
Yeah. And this supernova, I mean, he was just apparently walking from the laboratory where he and his uncle were back to his room or something like that. And the supernova just suddenly appeared in the constellation of Cassiopeia. And the supernovas, when they occur, like what happens is that there's such a bright burst of light because of the explosion that is taking place, the nuclear explosions that are taking place, that it bathes the night sky with light. Okay, and this event lasted entire November through December and only faded away in March of the following year. Okay, so it's a spectacular event in that way. And this event finally pushed Tycho Brahe along with his other, the past two events. When he saw the solar eclipse, he was wonderstruck at the fact that human beings could predict something like that. And then the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, that kind of put him off from astronomy, seeing that the charts were so badly off that the observations was weeks out of sync with the predictions. Okay, and then the appearance of the supernova and discussions about how the supernova could have occurred, and the whole spectacularity of the event seems to have finally pushed Tycho Brahe to take up astronomy. One of the other reasons was that at that point of time, the ruler of that region, I think it was still Ferdinand II, he was somebody who was a promoter of arts and science. One another event that happened during Tycho's childhood was that his uncle Jorgen, you remember? So Uncle Jorgen once, when Tycho was very young, was with the king, and the king kind of tripped and fell into the ocean while they were in some harbor. And Uncle Jorgen dived into the water and he rescued the king. Okay, and I think that Uncle Jorgen died soon afterwards. I think he got pneumonia and he died because of that. But as a result of this, the king came to know about Uncle Jorgen and he took an interest in young Tycho Brahe. And so the story kind of comes when he became an adult, that the role of the astronomer or the astrologer, actually they used to be more
Sir,
astrologers than astronomers. Yeah.
sir, the king gifted him an island.
Yes, I'll come to that story. So the whole thing is there. I'll try to complete the story, and I try to push it now because it's 12:53. I should complete the as much as possible, and then maybe a little bit into the next class, and then move on to Galileo. So to cut a long story short, the king sort of wanted Tycho to be part of his science team, so he invited him in, and he told him that, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do. You will get a salary, you will get as much money as you like, and so sort of Tycho got into the task of making observations. Okay, so this the second event in which he realized that the tables were off by a huge margin, that seemed to have really irritated Tycho, and he proceeded to correct the charts. Okay, and as a result of correcting the charts, also make contribution to astronomy. So he procured some really fancy equipment. The equipment that you see over here is something called as a quadrant. I'm sorry I couldn't get I thought I had a good quality image, but this wasn't so great. This is called as a quadrant, and you can see that it is something that uses geometry to know the position of different stars. And there is this other instrument. This is called as a Jacob staff. Again, it's a object measuring instrument that is used to anybody who's done elementary trigonometry will know about this particular task. You will take it up when you study trigonometry. So he proceeded to amass this equipment, and pretty soon the observatory that he ran became one of the best observatories in Europe and the rest of the world at that time, the known world. And also, I mean, because I'm saying known world because there were observatories that were there in India, there were observatories that were there in the South
Sir?
And pretty soon, just a moment, Rohani, and pretty soon, Tycho De Brahe became the world's foremost astronomer. Yes, Rohani.
Sir, time's up and we have another class after this.
You don't have a class right after this, right? You have lunch and then
We have lunch.
But
we
in Upasana ka
It
celebration,
is.
What?
English.
What? When did this happen?
okay, then it's fine.
What's up?
That's okay. I'll stop now, and we'll take up the rest of the story in the